Hello, my name is Mike Davis-Marks and I'm the managing editor of theveteran.uk and a director of Veteran Force. Welcome to an exciting new podcast series called The Veteran Voice, featuring veterans talking about their military experiences and what they did after their service, and in particular, how their transferable skills transferred from what they learnt during the military into their new civilian roles. It promises to be an exciting listen. Roll on. Our next guest on The Veteran Voice is Major Billy Kelly, formerly of the Royal Dragoon Guards. Billy joined first the Junior Leaders Regiment at the age of 16 and then transitioned to the Army and the 5th Inniskillen Dragoon Guards when he was an adult, and then spent 32 years in service before retiring, but still maintains a reserve status within the Army. Currently, he's the head of Armed Forces Programming for Guy's and St Thomas's Trust. Billy.
Great to see you, Mike. Great to see you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what first inspired you to join the Armed Forces.
So I was born in Londonderry in Alton Galvin Hospital back in 1970, and I grew up just outside Londonderry, well, actually in Tyrone, in a little village called Garvin, where I went to school at the primary school there, and then into Strabane High School. During that time, my father was in the Ulster Defence Regiment. He joined in 69, so spent the Troubles right up to 1983, 1984 as a soldier. So that's what I grew up with. Coming up to the end of my school life and my academic sort of life, I then thought, what am I going to do with myself? And looked at the army and what could I do in the army? Be a soldier. I couldn't stay in Northern Ireland because I wasn't 18. So I couldn't join the UDR or the Royal Irish, as it turned into then, the Royal Irish Regiment. So I opted to join the British Army and went to the careers office. That got me to take my exams, my military exams, domino test, etc. And they said I could be a Royal Engineer or I could join the Royal Armoured Corps and drive a tank at 16. That was quite, oh, really? Can I really drive one of them? And I went home to my father and said, yes, I've joined the army and I'm going to drive tanks. I'm joining the Skins. And he went, who's the Skins? And I didn't know. I had the choice between the Queen's Royal Irish Hussars and the Skins. And it was a sergeant called Sergeant Large, Tiny Large, who recruited me that day, who was a 5th Royal Inniskillen Dragoon Guard. Hence, I ended up in the Skins.
And how did that go down with your father?
He didn't know until I went to Junior Leaders Order, to be honest, because he didn't know who the Skins were at the time. He was happy I was joining the military, joining the army, and at that time, with the Troubles going on, quite happy that I was leaving to go overseas to England.
And how did joining the British Army go down with your friends?
There was a couple of friends that were looking at joining up, and one actually joined the RAF for a short period of time. The others who said they were going to join up with me then pulled out just before we went for selection. So it was me going on my own. And to be fair, I was quite happy then because I wasn't in competition with them. I was just in competition with everybody else who wasn't from Northern Ireland, if I'm honest. It was just the English and a couple of Scottish people at Junior Leaders.
So you joined the Royal Armoured Corps, or a cavalry regiment. And as we know, every schoolboy wants to drive either a railway engine or a tank. So you got to drive tanks. Yeah. Tell us about your tank driving experience.
So after a year at Junior Leaders, which was just military school, military calculations with mathematics, we were just counting trucks and tanks instead of other things. But when I finished Junior Leaders in August '88, I was sent to Catterick, where I'd done my tank driving course on a Chieftain. So Chieftain main battle tank was the main battle tank for the British Army at that time in 1988. Awesome. Didn't have a car license, didn't have a bike license, but I had a tank license after 6 weeks. Yeah, awesome.
And those listeners that are senior enough will remember Chieftains. But you went on then to Challengers, didn't you?
Yeah. So Challenger 1 came in around late 91. We didn't get it straight away. Some of the other Armour Corps regiments got it. And that's around the time of Gulf War 1. So those who had Challenger 1 actually deployed straight to Gulf 1 on Challenger. But for me, it was a transition from one big vehicle to another, a couple of extra switches and boxes, but it handled like a tank. It looked like a tank. It just looked a bit meaner. And then, so that then changed to Challenger 2 much later on in the 90s and into the noughties, where we got well embedded with Challenger 2 in the regiment.
And we've actually loaned or given Challenger 2s to the Ukrainians, haven't we? So have you been asked to go and help train them?
No, not yet. I have had a little trip over there on a humanitarian thing a couple of weeks ago, taking over pickups, and I didn't actually see any tanks. They were way closer to the front line.
Well, tell us about that a bit later. Let's go back. You spent 22 years in the ranks, and then people recognised your obvious talent and leadership skills and promoted you to officer. And then you spent another 10 years as an officer, ending up as a major, which, given that you joined at 18, or 16 if you count junior leaders, is a very impressive track record. What would you say the highlight of that sort of 32 years is?
I think highlights come in many different forms. So as a young soldier, I said about going to my regiment. I got to my regiment in September '88, so I was still 17, to Paderborn, and we were straight into Northern Ireland training, going straight back to South Armagh. So as an 18-year-old, I was straight back in uniform, straight back home, which was a big highlight. Coming back, really proud moment, coming back as a soldier, supporting the effort in Northern Ireland in the Troubles. So that was a highlight. Going through career-wise, loads of little highlights, I think. Getting my Lance Corporal was a highlight after a rocky start, should I say. It took me a few years to get my Lance Corporal. But again, that shapes you to where you are. And then going through the ranks, I think any soldier who wants to stay in the military and go up through the ranks, my final position was as the Regimental Sergeant Major of the Royal Dragoon Guards, which was an immense honour and privilege. And I think highlight of my career as a soldier was definitely Regimental Sergeant Major, and finishing that post on a 6-month operational tour in Afghanistan.
And we all know, of course, that Sergeant Majors run the army, not the officers. So I can see why that would be a high point. I'm very tempted to ask you about the rocky start, but I won't, if you don't mind. Let's start talking about towards the end of your time in the army. When you left, was it time to go, or did you finish your commission, or did you receive an offer that was too good to be refused?
I think so. I was offered a 10-year commission whenever I finished my time as the Regimental Sergeant Major and came to the end of my 22-year adult service. So the 10-year career took me up to I was 50 years old. You then go on a board for regular commission, but I was already looking at different roles, jobs. What does another 5 years get me? Am I going to get to Lieutenant Colonel? And going through the boards and bits and pieces. So I ended up opting to take a look at Civvy Street and bouncing out to the NHS. Okay,
so when did you start thinking about life after the army and what you might do next, and what transferable skills you might have?
Okay, so if we rewind back to before I knew I was going to get commissioned, you get 2 years before my final, so from my 20th year, adult service, I was looking at roles and what my transition is going to look like at 40 years old, because I wasn't expecting to be commissioned. So I looked, again, various different fields in the civilian world, and the NHS looked, again, institutionalised. It's got a structure, it's got a rank structure of some sort. Probably ask me now. It's not the same as the military, but there is a sense of belonging, a family, an organisation there to help people. So I was looking at probably 2008 at the NHS. So naturally, it then fell naturally, should I say, into the latter couple of years then when I was looking at, I'm coming to the end of my 10-year commission. I've made major, I'm going to pension out as a major, wasn't thinking about the ARG or any reserve thing after that. And I was looking at the NHS again. And I looked at various roles throughout the NHS that all land sort of in the skill set of the majority of people that I talk to about joining the NHS now who are leaving the military.
Okay. So you transitioned, I mean, the idea of joining the NHS was actually 10 years in the making, or 12 years in the making if you take the 2 years before you actually got your 22. So you transitioned, and what was your initial role in the NHS?
So when we were coming into COVID as well.
Yes, good timing.
We were pretty much embedded into it. So my last job was with the London Officer Training College as their XO in Russell Square, and I was driving in and out during the start of COVID and looking again at roles. So that was my last year, and I thought, okay, where am I going to go? How am I going to land this? Where do I want to work? I was posted down to Biggin Hill, or we quartered in Biggin Hill. So easy transition routes or travel routes into London. And there was the Officers Association, now the Forces Employment Charity.
Right.
So the Officers Association, we were linked up with that, and roles were coming up on the site all the time. And I call this my first job, but my first experience was into the mass vaccinations, helping the COVID distribution effort for Cambridge and Peterborough, all online, out in the back garden in my little bar, set up because of COVID. And then that led to the NHS itself and exposure to the jobs that were going on in London from the NHS, which landed me here then.
Fantastic. And of course, viewers or listeners to the Veteran Voice will know that the veteran.uk published the 100th anniversary publication of the Officers Association on their centenary, and is still available, downloadable from the website. So that's great.
Yeah.
You've ended up as the head of the Armed Forces Programme at Guys and Novices. Tell us what that programme does and why. And I know that you're passionate about it. Tell us why you're passionate about it.
So if we start with the why, then it was needed. Where they had the Baird at St Thomas's, which was the doctor and the military dentist on the first floor of Gassiet House on Westminster Bridge. That's where everybody sort of London-based went out for their doctor and dentist.
Me included.
Brilliant. So that then moved into Wellington Barracks to the George Guthrie Centre in 2019. So they were they had signed the Armed Forces Covenant, they had accreditations with the VCHA, they were a silver employment recognition scheme awarded trust, and they were going to lose all that because they couldn't reaccredit, so they needed to set something up that would pick it up. Hence the Armed Forces Programme was brought up, pulled together, and put out to advert for a lead to set up a program and run it. So that's where it started. For me, really interesting. Having come through my officer career, going through the normal lit entry officer roles, transport officer, logistics, quartermasters, welfare, a role that I really didn't want to do, but find it one of the most rewarding when I did it while I was serving. And that then put me in a good position as an all-rounder, having served for almost 34 years, around that already as a regular, with varied different roles coming through, changing every couple of years. I had great experience and the ability to problem solve in various different roles and jobs. So that's why it appealed to me. And after talking to the chief executive of the Integrated Specialist Medicine and the lady who was put in charge of setting up the program, the exec lead for the program, a lady called Sarah Austin, I found that this is going to be a great job setting up and planning and rolling out and setting up a future looking after the armed forces community.
And I think it's true to say that you've made a great success of this, and now Guy's and St Thomas's Trust is viewed as an exemplar on how they can be veterans aware. I think that's the terminology, but actually you are the role model for every other trust from what I can see, and that must come down a lot to how you brought the program together.
I think the passion lays in helping people and supporting the wider community. And it just so happens that the community that I grew up in from an early age with my father in the Ulster Defence Regiment, through my service, and looking at the families, the wider community that supports the armed forces, giving something back and having the ability and the knowledge to do that is what becomes a driving factor. The Armed Forces Programme here at Guy's and St Thomas's is lucky enough to be supported by the senior executive and the corporate piece within the trust, and that allows me to grow the team, which is now a team of 4, and have the ability and reach across all of the different dynamics that help support the armed forces community, from events like the armistice that we've just run across the 5 hospitals within the trust. We've supported them, to supporting our patients coming through, into employment, having conversation. I just had a conversation this afternoon with the guys looking at joining the NHS straight from service, and then into the wider community itself with drop-ins at the Ronald McDonald House or the Evelina House, which we're sitting in now, in the Lambeth Fallis Estate. It all supports the wider community and brings it all together and gives the armed forces community the ability to reach into us, ask a question, and it doesn't matter if it's directly related to the NHS, directly related to the armed forces programme. It doesn't matter. If it's about the military, I'll try and find it, or my team will try and find it. So it's given that assurance and support to the community in all aspects.
I think Guidance and Thomas very lucky to have you. What skills did you acquire in your 34 years in the military that have stood you in good stead in this period now that you're with Guidance and St Thomas's Armed Forces Programme?
I think it's the all-round piece, the ability to adapt to new roles, jumping through different roles every 2.5 years, or ranks, different responsibility. And the leadership piece that you learn from an early age sets you in good stead right the way through. From a Lance Corporal, on a vehicle, commanding vehicles, commanding multi-million pounds worth of equipment, people, supporting people, leading people, and getting them to the right place at the right time in good order to fight. And that can be a fight, be it the fireman's strike, be it the dustman's strike, or on a battlefield in Afghanistan. It's the same principles, the ability to lead and have the education, the training to be able to do that so that people will follow you. I think that's the one of the key pieces.
That's very inspiring. So if you were addressing our listeners and viewers who are on the cusp of leaving, still serving, but have made a decision to leave for whatever reason, and but haven't yet made up their minds what they want to do. Why would the NHS be a good destination for them?
So the NHS boasts over 350 different job titles, different job roles across various different sites up and down the country, and therefore there's plenty of scope for anybody who either wants to change their career, change what they want to do, or jump into something that they're very skilled at, that they can adapt easily with their transferable skills into the NHS. So it's a good place to land, a good soft place to land, and a supportive place now, as the NHS England signed the Armed Forces Covenant last year with Amanda Pritchard, who is now the CEO of Guy's and St Thomas's.
Oh wow, that's a nice little round
Good
circle.
for me.
Well, and I'd like just emphasise that we're not obviously the veteran.uk not trying to persuade anyone to leave the forces. We're just championing the extraordinary skills they've got when they do. So, final question. You've also recently become director of Veteran Force, which is, I think, the other side of the same coin, which is veterans have got an awful lot to offer, and we've been talking about what they've got to offer, in your case, the NHS. But we also think they've got something to offer communities and society in general. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts about Veteran Force and how veterans can get involved in local communities.
So being part of the concept as it grew into Veteran Force was a great piece for me. It exposed me to wider networks, how the world and the UK look after their veterans, and from an NHS side, I had already seen that. So being part of the Veteran Force as it evolved and into what it is now, I see challenges, I see opportunity, and I see a lot of different areas that are doing stuff that can be joined together. There's a lot of groups that are supported by the veteran community, and they don't even recognize it as the veterans that are pulling it together. Identifying them areas, identifying what they're doing now, showcasing that up and down the country across other groups, like-minded groups that are doing the same thing, is a part of what Veteran Force will be trying and is trying to do, and it is doing as we speak. So for me, it's how do we pull them pockets of people together, how do we support them, and how do we then spread that out across the UK, allowing other operations like Op Ascend, all the Op Courages and everything to link in. So we've got that support network for healthcare, we've got the support network for housing, across education as well. And then into the community, showing that resilience across the community, the people in the community, and how the veterans within your community can pull that together quite easily for you. And that doesn't matter if it's supporting the Christmas lights coming on, to supporting youths coming out of the criminal system, Op Nova as well, the veterans coming out of the justice system into the community and paying back into the society. The leadership that the veteran cohort have, and their background, respect, honour, courage, selfless commitment, all spill over from their time in the forces, and will be a great asset across the UK.
Thank you. And I think it might be worth adding that very recently, Veteran Force Resilience Kick, the kick that's behind all of this, has just been awarded a grant from the Lest We Forget Association, and now has some funding to help microfinance some of these veteran-backed or veteran-led initiatives within communities. So, you know, we use the word resilience, and that seems to me perhaps to be in as a scarce commodity at the moment. So anything veterans can do to help rebuild it strikes me as good.
Yeah, and things like the local community events, the drop-ins, the support networks are things that Veteran Force will be supporting.
We've got a drop-in centre here, haven't we?
Yes.
In Evelina House.
Yeah, so every third Tuesday, between 11 and 2, we've got a drop-in set up. It's the guys in St Thomas's Armed Forces community drop-in, kindly supported by the Ronald McDonald Charities by giving us this space to use it in. So next Tuesday is Christmas bake-off, and we do get cakes from the Royal Hospital Chelsea, from pensioners, etc.
What are your baking skills like, dare I ask?
I'm the Colin the Caterpillar with a little RDG flag in the top, and they never come last.
Well, I fancy a slice of that.
Yeah.
So if you're a veteran and you want to get a community project going, then Veteran Force Resilience Kit may have some funding that can help you do that. Please get in contact with us. But back to you, Billy. So join from 16 as a junior leader in the outskirts of Londonderry to leaving 34 years later as a major in the Royal Dragoon Guards, to now running the Armed Forces programme at Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital Trust. It's been inspiring listening to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.